And breathe. Feel your body in your seat. Relax your shoulders and breath. Feel the heartbeat. As we come together. Breathe. Far away from buildings. Breathe. Skyscrapers and trains. Lying on the ground, listening to the sound, the first breath of creation. Welcome. Welcome, friends. Hello.
Hey.
How exciting.
Greetings, greetings.
Greetings. Hey.
Hello.
Ooh. What a reunion this is.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I'd like to just welcome all the attendees, everyone who's on right now or listening or tuning in to our very first Urban Yoga community webinar.
Yeah.
And I'm just very excited on this day, celebrating the dream birthday, the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about transformation and transforming the dream and what it meant for us in our lives. I'll be looking to the right a lot because people will be coming in and tuning in and we'll be answering questions. And this platform is just to bring communities together, bring people together to share, teach, and learn, that we can be on the same page and the same platform to inspire each other when the dream is deferred, and how we pick ourselves back up and pay attention to the action of our intention.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Gillian Bell, for those who don't know, founder and director of the Urban Yoga Foundation. We educate and empower communities to be proactive with regards to health, bringing integrative wellness modalities to schools, corporations, organizations, individuals all over the diaspora, all over the world. We're global now. And we're a grassroots organization, volunteer-based, doing this work for over 20 years, and just really excited to bring people that I know, teachers that I know, friends that I know, who are doing amazing work as well. We'll start with introductions, and I'd like to introduce next Vicki Anderson, so she can tell you, Vicki Anderson Simmons, so she can tell you a little bit about herself. I know her, Vicki Anderson, so much in my life. We met very young in my life at around 6 or 7 years old. And Aka, I've known even before that. Our bellies were probably touching the hair salon where my father did his mother's hair. Our parents' bellies anyway.
Right.
Vicki, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, Gillian. And it's so good to see you. It's good to be here. My name is Vicki Anderson Simmons. I'm the founder of Soul Hobby, which is a newly found organization that focuses on professional or personal development through personal practices. I thought about the company as someone who works in for the federal government, have been doing that for nearly 30 years. Noticing basically imbalances in my life, despite the fact that I have been extremely successful career-wise, but recognizing that I needed to find balance. And I began 3 basic practices in my life, started actually 4 in my life, that I continue to use in order to establish balance. Those being the practice of Buddhism, which my friend here, Gillian, introduced me to. And to that, I have added Reiki. I'm a certified Reiki master, African drumming, specifically through the djembe, and herbalism. So these are things that I love to do so much that in instances where I have taught classes or been involved in these arenas, people would ask me, what drives you? And I said, if my soul had a hobby, these would be my hobbies. And so from that, I launched Soul Hobby. And the idea is for people to really, through mentoring and through coaching, to really encourage people to look within for those things that feed them and feed the soul, because that is the path for personal healing. And that's also a way to provide healing practices to others. So thank you. And it's great to be here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Akadama.
Yes.
Coming from, and please, Vicki, where are you based?
Oh, I am currently based. Oh, that's interesting. I am currently living in Maryland, the Maryland area. I am a byproduct of the government shutdown. So we also have a home here in beautiful upstate New York. So I get to spend an extended period of time here up in the woods while we're waiting for things to work themselves out back in DC. And it's during this time that my wonderful friend Gillian basically gave me something to do. I was doing some other self-study, getting into my soul hobby little thing in my head. But Gillian came up with this idea for us to develop this webinar together. So I'm up here in upstate New York until further notice.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Akadama.
Hey, till further notice. I like that. Forgive me, y'all. Like my cheeks started. I can't stop grinning.
I know.
Because this is literally a reunion that, man, it's like a good 40 years, in the making for all of us to be together. My name is Akadama. I'm coming to you from the west side of things in Southern California, a town that is very steeped in indigenous culture and spirituality called Ojai, which is a Chumash word for Valley of the Moon. So it's a very unique valley because it flows from east to west, where most valleys here flow north to south. But I am here with my family. I am a spiritual counselor. And I have embarked on a journey to be a guide to help those to have a relationship with their soul. I've been on a long time journey from healing minister from 94 to 2011. And then in 2011, a very pivotal thing took place. I got invited to share spiritual counseling with those people who were labeled with issues of addiction. And I never quite considered addiction or even my own addictive tendencies until I was asked to be someone that helped a person see that there is a person inside that can go way beyond any stories that we have. When I say beyond, go beyond, like there's a direction to go. Let's call that inward, where the feelings and busy mind and false beliefs of oneself is shed. And an experience of a true presence can elevate the way of thinking into a place of peace, into a place of joy facing the challenges of life, into a place of contentment, even though chaos is all around. Right? So that, along with me and my wife, we share about the healing power of music from a yogic perspective. Now, when I say yogic perspective, yoga is a union between the human and higher self. And there's different branches of yoga. And Nod yoga is about the sound current and how that flows through us as us, connecting us with a larger universe, creating an awareness that we are infinite as well as physical, right? So part of us is non-physical, call that infinite, higher self, Christ self, intelligent self, universal self, however way you want to describe that. There's something about us, consciousness, something about us is non-physical, something about us is physical. So we practice a branch of yoga called Kundalini yoga that employs this Nod yoga or mantra yoga along with movements and giving the person the experience of being physical but also infinite. Right? So we have a musical duo called Icona, and that has been our life work over the last almost 30 years, between the two of us. And that is our mission, to help people have an experience of their infinite self, so there can be a way to any challenge. The joy of living can be experienced. Hey, look at that.
The webinar. And
signed up for the webinar.
all yogis were invited.
The yogi appears, right? And that's, with that said, that's our mission here, is to help a person experience that yogi within.
Yes.
So there's a joy to living no matter what's going on. It is indicating the joy of being in relationship to the soul. Right? So that's my mission as a spiritual counselor, as an herbalist, as a Qigong teacher, a yoga teacher, and a medicine percussionist.
Beautiful.
But y'all, we have done these things without telling each other.
Yeah.
That we're, hey, that's what I'm into, Vicky. Hey, Gillian, I'm getting ready to make some teas.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is a good example of how, the frequency of the time is speaking to us.
Yes, very true.
Everything we're doing here, talking about this dream, is just clearing away the false stories, clearing away the stories so we could hear exactly what we have come here to do. And you will not be alone.
Right. That's true. It's a community.
Yeah, it's a community.
I just want to say this is really exciting for me, because one of the things that I realized about our labyrinth walk is that we really follow our DNA on a cellular vibrational level.
Yeah.
And when you give the intention just a little attention, things awaken.
Yeah.
That's right.
On your path. And just going back to not knowing what we were doing, like we had a childhood together. We had a childhood that was rooted in diversity, which is interesting in a time that is having such an issue with diversity. I talk about our childhood so much because we had so much freedom to evolve.
That's right.
And we had so much community around us that assisted in that evolution.
That's right.
And as we progressed, we started seeing each of us our own dream being deferred.
Right.
The foundation of what we were used to seeing started to disappear. Whether it was the quality of the community that we lived in, whether it was the quality of the education system that we participated in, or whether it was the quality of food that we ate. Each of us got to see what started to happen and decided individually what we were going to do to keep moving forward and to challenge the direction of the chaos that would be in our future if we did not get inspired to see it in a different way. And I say that because it's so easy to be hurt by the things that are happening in this world.
That's right.
Things that are happening now. It's very easy to lose inspiration. And I think about Dr. King when it comes to that, because we're still not at his dream. The dream was on a path that got deferred. And we're still trying to continue to manifest the realization of what his intention was. And the biggest part of that example during that time was the community itself.
Yes. How
we engaged with each other, how we shared and taught, and we were learning all the time and inspiring each other to challenge ourselves to be better at anything that was in front of us to do. And it's very easy to be distracted with technology as we use it now, and the realization that it's a tool and not supposed to be such a distraction.
Yeah.
Right.
So how we use this tool to create community again is what this concept is about. And how we can, how I can introduce people that I feel in my life have inspired me, because you both have inspired me so much.
Good thing.
You know.
As you
and share you, you know, with my community as you share me with yours. And then in our little corner of the world, we vibrate out from that inward perspective, and we reach so many people,
right?
You know, and become a catalyst for that shift. I'd like to talk about personal practice right now a little bit, and Vicki, I want to start with you. Just you know, give me a little window of how you cultivated a personal practice for yourself, and maybe what obstacles were in front of you, which were the catalyst for that cultivation.
Okay, well, I want to go back to what you were talking about in terms of the dream and what was established for us, Gillian, because I think you touched on a few things that are really important to acknowledge. And that is that when I think about, well, I forgot to mention in my background, in terms of my background, I'm a civil rights attorney. So we have moments where we have to kind of backtrack and look at what history has given us in terms of law. And so that usually provides a template for behaviors that happen now. So if you see something happening now, it's like, oh, didn't we have a law that said that you can't do that anymore? And so all of the expectations are grounded in laws that were developed 50 years ago, people, 50 years ago. And the culmination of those laws were a result of a lot of energy through the civil rights movement and everything that built up to that. But then when the laws were instituted, codified, they kind of landed in a stagnant place. And I think somewhere along the way, we thought we had arrived. It's like, oh, you know, you have these laws, so this is how the world's supposed to be. So we started building a construct around what we thought the dream was supposed to look like. And that's what people usually link up with the King, with Dr. King, the Civil Rights Act. They link it up with Dr. King. And because of that, and I guess we'll have our ground rules as we go, because I'm going to keep it really real with you and the audience. Because of that, I really think that we became perhaps a little passive, a little too satisfied with where we had gotten, because we developed formulas around what our lives were supposed to look like. So I wrote down, we were told that the dues have been paid, that we should kind of work with what has been established. We can go out on our own, get our education, get our houses, have our 2.5 kids, and everything was going to be okay. And you know what? We brought into that dream, or if you want to call it an illusion. What I think was lost, though, was this idea about your personal development and your contribution. Like Dr. King developed what he did because of the struggles he was confronting, in addition to wanting to serve community. Somewhere along the line, we lost that. And so that's kind of the backdrop. So you were talking about my own practices. So what I did was, I went to a predominantly, historically Black college institution. That's what you were supposed to do. And that was going to be your ticket to make it all go. And what I realized is, as a result of even checking all of those boxes, that I really still was not feeling that kind of inner satisfaction in terms of my own personal development, that I was, maybe intellectually developing or performing in the classroom, but there was still, not enough there. So the first thing that happened was, Gillian, and this, I came home for spring break from Howard University. I was hanging out with you, and you took me to a Buddhist meeting, which kind of opened my eyes about, to just the concept of understanding the enlightenment that exists within one's life, and really practicing every day in order to realize, the self, in order to expand the self. To your point earlier, about how we can kind of return to ourselves. So that was the first step. So I've been doing that or chanting for 30 years. I have a practice, and that's what I do. It's what's beautiful about it is that it has ritual, it has sound. It's everything I love about just what I need to do in order to get myself going. In addition to that, I also, through Buddhism, met a group of women who wanted to start drumming, and the group was started by a woman who was actually experiencing breast cancer, and one of her lifelong dreams was to play African drums. So she, before passing, started this women's group, but she never got to perform with us. But she started this group of women drummers, and through that, I discovered the energy and the indigenous energy, as you say, Gillian, around African drumming and the beauty of that, and how you can really connect with people through sound. Because a lot of times when you get engaging with people through, let's say, just a quote religious front, like if I go up to someone and I tell them my Buddhist chant, they're like, okay, I'm not about that, I'm over here. Maybe they can't relate, but they can relate to some drumming, or to your point, Akadama, they can relate to music. So music was the connector to people, but it was also it took me back to my days of African dance classes in Jersey City. So it all brought me back full circle. From there, I learned, I met another person. This is just me being curious. I met another person who, in this real, hippie place called Tacoma Park, Maryland, I met someone who was giving out free Reiki sessions. She was just giving to the community. She gave me a free session. And as a result of that, I got exposed to the Reiki, which I thought was really phenomenal. And then because of my own personal imbalances in terms of a lot of stress for the work I do, I started taking herbs and realized that the energy of herbs is incredible, and that I wanted to learn more about that. So, and I don't know how to I don't know how to just do something just to be doing it. I always want to learn more about it. So of course I began taking courses in herbalism. So I have combined, and all three are my loves, right? They're all three so close to my heart. There's so much energy. So because of that enthusiasm and passion that comes out of this exposure and the healing and the actual proof that has resulted from these practices, I just naturally want to share them with others. So those are my 4 practices that my go-tos for right now. I will probably be adding to it at some point in time. We'll see.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And it seems to me that just listening to you speak about how this evolved for you, it's like one step opens the door to another step of this lifestyle practice. It's energetic. It's like it's a magnet, but it's that intention of taking the first step, and not getting stuck in our stuff that kind of restricts us from just being curious. Just being curious. When I think of the word yoga, we were talking about different types of yoga. And I think of the word yoga, it's unity. It means unite, to come together. The practice is happening right now. It's energetically happening right now. It happens when people go to church and fellowship. It happens when you're in a classroom and right minds are in sync at the same time and you're just in flow. It builds an energy from the inside out that is food. In Kemetic yoga, they call it shu, breath, right? This life force. In Hatha yoga, they call it prana. In Tao, they call it chi. And the beauty of this food, this life force, is that it's now.
That's right.
It's ever present. And it's really important that we communicate that to a lot of people that think of this practice or maybe this technology, and it is a technology, a systemized method of awakening, as a practice that is rooted in African culture, geometric progression, geometric sacred geometry on the pyramid walls in Egypt, following the lineage of Kush to Indus Kush and on to Tao practices, and the beauty of the connection that we came, these 3 people from Jersey City, African-American young people, and connected to practices that were not about our family, that were outside of anything that we would ever been introduced to had we stayed in the bubble of our own world.
That's right.
That inside our DNA is this buzz and this map, this GPS system that will move you if you allow it. And you got, like I say, you guys are my witnesses for my own life, as well as looking in the eyes of yours, that we match that direction and that experience. Before we go into Dawood, I just want to say hello to some of the people that are checking in. We have Brahmachandri, Brahma Shakti, and her husband are in saying much love to Akadama. We have Boo on the line. She just had some problems, but she's in. We have Isaac Stamper on the line from Brooklyn. We have Alicia on the line. We have Tamika on the line. We have people who are watching and just really excited about listening to what's happening and being a part of this urban yoga community,
Wow.
unity and sharing and teaching. So, Akadama, talk to me about what culminated your practice and what it consists of for you.
Wow, it's so powerful and confirming to listen to both of you all and just to share from the perspective of, we came from Jersey City, New Jersey.
Yes.
And Gillian, you spoke about a dream deferred. So, but just to give you a setting, everyone, now, there was nothing built new to develop your soul, spirit, or mind while we were there on the main avenue called Jackson Avenue, later named Martin Luther King Boulevard. There was nothing built on there new but a church's chicken. I can't think of anything else. Yeah. Can y'all think of anything else that was built?
No.
To develop. I didn't say church chicken was to develop your mind. I was just giving you an idea
of what was around us.
Yeah. Now, nothing. Anybody got church's chicken? They like it. I'm just saying it's not intended to develop your spiritual mind. That's all I'm saying. I'm not down in church chicken, but I was just thinking about what was built so most of the influential people were pimps, pushers, prostitutes, preachers,
sure,
politicians. Did I say politicians?
No, that's right.
You said teachers. I'm sorry. Yes, politicians.
Politicians, athletes.
Yeah, right.
DJ.
Yep. Oh, big time.
Strip dancers. And I think that's about it.
Yeah.
In terms of like, what's the motivation? How are you going to make your name in the world?
Yes.
So when it comes to a dream deferred, one thing about my life, there's always been an invitation. Even if that invitation was the childhood traumas that I experienced that caused the uneasiness inside that I call emotional noise, just to condense it down, right? So I've been attempting to figure out a way to get rid of the emotional noise, right? Even when we were children and we should be thinking about playing, right? Gillian would even say this, man, you're too serious, man. You got to lighten up a bit. You're thinking about things too much. We're going to answer those questions. Let's go. You guys go have some fun.
Right.
But, for me, the practice of tuning inward was a way to release the pressures of depression or trying to figure out what is this uncomfortable feeling inside, and borrowing names from other people that repeated things, or had feelings like I had. And so they had names like anxiety, or they had names like depression, or they had names like, trauma, or they had names like, you got to have this to feel good, so you got to drink this to feel good. You got to smoke that to feel good. But when I got introduced to West African drumming, taking a trip back and forth between New York and where we lost each other is when I turned 16 and we moved to New York. So that's when kind of the adventure of our souls was beginning, around 16 years old. So I lived on my own for a while and got introduced at 19 to Tai Chi. And again, it was by invitation. I was following this group called Spirit Ensemble because I liked the percussion, the way it felt in my body. I hadn't touched the drum yet, but I liked what it was making me feel. The lead, Hassan Bakar, he introduced me to his wife, Rabia Bakar, who had an entrepreneur, he had a prosperity circle, and I got introduced to the laws of success through that invitation. Then he gave me my first drum lesson on a telephone book. Vicky, on a telephone.
Yes.
Right? So I say that, y'all, because when it feels like the dream is deferred, there is always an invitation
away.
from your soul to invite you on the path of self-discovery and self-development so that you can really feel who you are. But it does take that yearning to know.
Right.
Want to know who you are, because that's what I feel was at the bottom of the trauma. And just to talk about that dream deferred for a moment, as we feel Martin Luther King's vision living in us, like what's our responsibility to provide. And from the West African dance class, I got invited to in drumming class, I got invited to a Native American ceremony. And I always wanted to know the stories of my grandmother, who is Cherokee, but the only story I had is that she changed her name. They wanted her to go to a regular school rather than a service-oriented school. So they changed her name from China to China. Right? That's it. Nobody wanted to be Negro. Nobody wanted to be Native American. So I didn't get any of what I feel I want to give my daughter is the groundation of what you said, DNA. So the way I teach is that your soul is vibrating in that DNA. Right? So this is a series of invitations that I'm sharing with y'all so that you can maybe look at your life and see where have you been invited. That your mind has said, oh, that's not for me. Right? Because I thought I was going, when I was smoking some herb, I thought I was going to pick up some herb when I got invited to the West African drumming class. Right? I said, Baba, you busy? I just give me a little something. I came in from New York. I was in LA, right at the community center called Kabasa. Right? I was there. I thought I was just picking that up. You busy, Baba? I thought I'd get a little wisdom from him. I was feeling a little down. You busy? I'm going to leave. He said, where you going, young boy? You need to get over there and get some of that. Right? I said, get some of what? I didn't even know what it was. Right?
Wow.
But it was, again, ladies and gentlemen, these invitations are part of your infinite self. So when you go into it willingly to see what it's all about, what there is to learn, start to touch part of yourself where there's something you didn't know if you're just using your five senses.
Yes.
There's something that awakens you. And for me, it wasn't necessarily that I want to be a lead djembe drummer, because I didn't start on there. I started on Doon Doon, Vicky.
Okay.
That's a whole other story how I wound up there. But to move along in terms of the invitations, it invited me to the Native American ceremony where I got exposed to indigenous spirit that's part of my heritage that, again, I was awakened to and didn't really know. So if I was just using my five senses and what they have recorded, right, over the years and years, I'd be telling myself the stories. So what's wrong with me because of my mother and father and this and that and that and that, right? But I got awakened to something that felt foreign. I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey. Here I am in California on Chumash land, which is the indigenous people of the land where the intertribal preserve called Mahutistan is. And I'm embraced for who I am as part of the four directions. Right? I'm part of that. So there's the Yellow Nation to the east, and this medicine wheel at least. And medicine wheels, ladies and gentlemen, are a way of looking at creation as simply put a oneness. Just like yoga is about your human and higher self. So how are we integrated into the creator's creation? How do we integrate into it? So in this way of looking at it, indigenous people looked at the nations, the four nations, representing the four directions. And we're connected to this environment that we live in, and we represent it together. Right? So the East had a meaning, and it represented the Yellow Nation. The South was the White Nation, and it had vibrations that it brought to creation. The West was the Black Nation, and the North was the Red Nation. But it was about dwelling in the center of the sacred right? Because we all contribute to each other.
Yes.
Because otherwise we wouldn't be able to have contrast to exist.
Yes.
If
Yes.
we all weren't part of this organizational life called the universe, right? So that was the concept there. Then I got invited to meet a gentleman that had a healing ministry as part of his church. And that's where I began to study to become a healing minister. Herbal formulation and spiritual counseling.
Okay.
And I was in 94, and then I got trained to the degree where I can run his spiritual clinic, the spiritual clinic of the church. It was non-denominational. So I had to figure out how to be with people. He was big on intuition. So he presented lessons that would melt your skepticism.
Yes.
Right? Would melt the separations that causes a dream to be deferred.
Right.
Yes.
Right? Because who's going to separate us from our dream? Right? Where are we going to get these thoughts? But it's us that entertains the thoughts.
Right.
Let us let go of blaming anyone.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
For how we use our own thoughts.
Yeah.
Because our Creator gave us authority over that.
Yes.
And that's another aspect of calling yoga a technology.
Yes. Yes.
Because this can take Renology, or you can evolve yourself. It allows you
Into
to
your own. Yes.
the technology given to you so you know what to do when.
Right.
So you know who you are. And all of these various invitations were peeling away the skepticism, the doubt, and the stories that I took on from others and mingled with my soul's story.
Yes.
Causing confusion. And Max was really like someone that put it into a logical training to say, hey, trust in the Lord. And when I say that, that means trust in the intelligence within you.
Within you. Yes.
Trust in that.
Yeah.
I met Max in 94, 95. I met Leela Pavadan. She took me deeper into Qigong, right? Which was now more of an invitation to go deeper into knowing the intelligence within, right? So these are practices. So far, it's the practice of the drum, because that's the rhythm of life.
That's right.
Yes.
When I learned how to string my djembe, Vicky, you'll appreciate this, the weaving, right, of the rope represents your life between the upper world and the lower world.
Yes.
So how we represent the worlds in between, because we've been given flesh that's weaved into existence on these bones, right?
That's right.
It plays this song right here, this rhythm that the lungs dance to, the heart, that is, y'all. So it was the drum. I didn't quite understand the depth of it. And then here comes indigenous ceremony. Didn't understand the depth of it. Didn't know where it was taking me. And sometimes I was like, I'm tired of this sugar honey iced tea, because it's making life more hectic and crazy than I can handle. But I keep something, my soul keeps going back. My mind keeps fighting.
Yes.
Right? So soon there was a crack in my mind, and started to discover my teacher, Max Barsov. He was very intuitive, very clairvoyant, and he would ask you questions. And so he asked questions about me going to ask my mother about a woman in our family who worked with feathers. It took me a good 2 to 3 months before I thought that was a worthwhile question to ask.
Wow.
That it would produce any results that would be of value to me. But when I did, my mother started to share stories about a woman in my family who worked with herbs, who was, her father was an herbalist. And when we say a water boy in the Civil War, most of the time that meant medic.
Yes.
Right? They went out and brought the herb, they brought the medicine.
Right.
But they called them water boys, right? Not to acknowledge the amount of contribution that we're bringing. But the main focal point here is that, it's my belief that even the stories that seem like tragedy are stories of potential awakening.
Of course.
Yes.
To potential awakening, to the magnificence that has come to live through each and every heartbeat.
Yes.
This continues to be confirmed. Where now, so now the practice is herbalism, it's the being with the plants. Because when I came back and told him that my mother said I had the mark to carry the family tradition on, and out of the whole story, and I'm making it really short, he said, good, have her as your teacher and have George Washington Carver as your teacher.
Yes.
So if no one knows George Washington Carver,
I do. That magnificent man, that
you
botanist.
get this book, little book, The Man Who Talked to Flowers,
Yes.
by Glenn Clark.
Yes.
And it will open your eyes to the abilities that have been given to us. Right? Because anybody you read about that's done anything magnificent, that means you're looking in the mirror. Come on now.
That's true.
Don't just put it on somebody else. Oh, they got such and such and such.
Yes.
If it's coming, like if we're coming to you talking about this, that means there's something in you that is longing to come online if it hasn't already.
Yes.
And it just is a matter of listening to the invitations.
Yes.
Right? So now that was an invitation that really melted my doubt that we can have a connection to a non-physical energy called the invisible world, called the ancestors, called the spirit world, that we can have a connection to that. In fact, the design of creation is such that we are the connectors. We are, where do you think that line is? So that's the Aramaic way to say the fourth line of the Lord's Prayer, which was given as a way to tune or atone or synchronize your vibration with the universe. And that line says, thy will be done on earth
Yes.
as it is in heaven.
Yes.
Right? So it's yoga. It's recognizing part of us is physical.
Yes.
And part of us is non-physical consciousness. But thy will be done. So we do our asanas. We do our practices. And so in 1995, 2004, I got invited to Kundalini Yoga. Now, I thought it was all about some kind of sexual ritual. So I was denying the invitation for a good 10 years. I was like, man, that's kind of strange stuff. I don't know about all that. You know? I don't know. This California is a bit different out here than it is on the East Coast. My mind, right? I finally went. And I had been involved in a medicine music project with the drum, again, trying to quiet down this inside. 99 to 2000. So by 2004, when I got introduced to Kundalini Yoga, and they broke out the chants after the movement, and the teacher broke out the guitar, and they just started rejoicing. It just brought me back to Alabama, where my mother was born, in the Plankwood Church, and the ladies with their high heels with a bass, and singing those songs, what I mean, going up to yonder, yes, Lord, and I'm going up. That, I was like, wow, this is really, there's music in yoga.
Yes.
The invitation. So I've taken you through the invitations that introduced me to various practices.
Yes.
Right? The practice of the drum. It's particularly the practice of the drum.
It is a practice indeed.
Right? The practice of the drum, and then playing collectively. Yes. Because Gianni Bay or Djembe is unity among us.
You can't do it by yourself.
Right? So and then the song and then the dance.
Yes, it all goes together.
It all goes. It's the same way, even in ceremonies. So now I'm a lead drummer in indigenous ceremony called the bear dance. There's the dance, there's the song, there's the people. Right? Even as an herbalist and spiritual counselor.
Right.
There's the dance with the herbs, the study and being with them, and then there's the people.
That's right. And the energy that they bring to it.
The dance.
Exactly.
Right? All that means. So then in Qigong, there's the universe, there's yourself, and there's the dance with the people. As I am a practitioner of medical Qigong, where now we're interacting with the energy on different levels of purging, right?
Yeah.
Tonifying and regulating.
Yeah.
So there's that, so all of these practices, and then I have the yoga, all of these practices have shown me the way to take the emotional noise and use it as food
Mm-hmm.
to rejoice in the opportunity to live and find a solution, and and write down things. And, Bob Marley said, he's like, I shot the sheriff. He said, you take the adversity and you make a song of it,
Right.
as he would
Right.
say. Make a song of it. So, it is a tremendous confirmation in this triad, because we haven't all gathered, the three of us, to talk about anything together about our lives. All three of us.
No, this will be the first time.
This is that you are witnessing is getting recorded the first time. And I feel this is a confirmation of what is needed in this time as we talk about 2019. If you add that up, that's a 3-year. So that's another thing in formulating and getting to know somebody. For me, the name is an expression of the vibration of someone's soul. And therefore, numbers have been also a practice, a way to understand the language of the universe. Right? This is a 3-year, and just simply put, imagine that you have, 1 point, we come into this realm, then we come into duality, and we're on this plane right here, like a caterpillar, just consuming the physical world. And then you find your angle. Begin to ascend up out of just the duality of polarity and into the truth of what your soul has come here to represent. So now you're a downloader. You're not just a freeloader. You come here to download some stuff. You don't expect the world to do anything for you, right? Like a caterpillar is just groping and chomping and groping. But inside you are these imaginal cells coming together. I'm going to be talking about that on a webinar tomorrow, my first one. But so those are the ideas of practices, how they've come into my life.
Very good.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's
amazing.
Incredible. I was inspired to go back to the first catalyst in my life. And when I think about this man, and you both have been inspired by my father in your own way.
That's right. The alchemist.
The alchemist. It's a good word for him. Yeah.
I agree.
Always making sure he took the opportunity to connect. I can speak for myself as his child, with me, when he felt we didn't communicate, like if we were busy during the week, school, things, work.
Right.
He would wake me up either very early in the morning or in the middle of the night if it was a weekend.
That's
just to see how I was doing, just to connect.
Just to connect.
It's like check-in, and I do this in my classes. I do this check-in, and because you need to see how people are, so that you know what they need.
Right.
And see how you can either assist or inspire transformation.
Right.
In the present state of that being. And my father was a builder. So he would go and renovate houses. And he came home when I was about 10 or 11 years old one time, and he brought Kuan Yin and Buddha. And he said, I have something for you. And I was like, what are these? And he was like, I don't know. I just thought you would like them. And I lost my father at 19, but when I walked into my first yoga class at Yoga Shala, Eddie Stern was my teacher. I studied Ashtanga. Yoga was my first introduction to yoga.
But wait, what brought you to the yoga class?
A very good friend of mine by the name of Karen Silas. She told me about this yoga class, and she paid for me to be able to go. An invitation. And I said yes. And I walked in and saw this big Buddha.
Wait, don't go over that too fast. You said yes.
I said yes.
I want you to hear that, folks.
Yeah.
Right, that's right.
Sometimes you need to say yes.
Yes to the unknown.
Yeah.
Because you can always change your mind. And I walked in and saw this big Buddha, and I just said, thank you, Daddy. Because we come in with our stuff, and our stuff can either allow us to have fear and back us away from the invitation, or sometimes there's little hints of activation from different people in your life that pierce the consciousness, that pierce it just enough to awaken and release some insecurity that you might have. And because my father gave me that Buddha, the insecurity was released. I felt like I was in a safe place. And I tell my students that all the time when I talk about choosing a place and a teacher. Your inner intuition will know how you feel about a space or a place. And if you're comfortable enough to allow your soul to speak easy in that seat, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so my practice started with Ashtanga. And Ashtanga was interesting for me because I was going through something very emotional at the time. And I really feel like those kind of practices are really good when you're going through that, those kind of rigorous practices. And then I moved off into a hatha practice, a more specialized practice, hatha yoga. And then I found my seat in Kemetic yoga. And I found it in Kemetic yoga because it was the foundation and structure of all yoga systems for me. It made sense. It all came together.
Right.
Because it was the parallel of the first civilization of man. In contemplative practices, in indigenous practices, it made sense. You know, we talk about this triad that we have. You know, that's how I feel about the yoga triad. I feel like Kemetic yoga is the foundation of the bottom of the pyramid. Yeah. And Asia, the two sides, meaning India and Tao practices. And at the peak is my Native American realization. The people that are still here on their land, who are the epitome of that walk from Africa. You know, and the beauty of walking in your indigenous sound vibration, your inner sound, is that you get awakened to that experience when you travel. Like when I recently went to Africa, and I went to a Native American reservation, and the social justice consciousness of those cultures are so clear. And I say social justice because everything is about service and people and being a part of a tribe and community and how we work together and listen, you know, listen to what's happening.
That's right.
So that we can connect with each other and support each other in a way to move past the things that separate us. And I know we're coming to the end of this webinar, and I want to make sure we all get a chance to close out the importance of reactivating the indigenous ways to offer respect and the right consciousness that we can heal the pain that we're having, reconnecting with each other. And it's pain because it's uncomfortable. Conversations are uncomfortable. New ideas are uncomfortable, especially if you're taught in a different way. But the only way we're going to unveil that discomfort is to share and teach these conversations and to be a part of this expedition of self, you know, and communicate how we find each other, you know, in practice and in life, and just celebrate that. And I just want to say I so appreciate the relationships that we've cultivated and what you both are doing in your work. And just so the audience knows, just to bring you in, we're seeing many jewels bestowed here from Sunseed, loving this wisdom from Boo. People are really excited about what we're saying, and just so the audience knows, the attendees know that the two teachers that you are witnessing right now are going to be available to help coach you and have access to other ideas of coming together and communicating work and shared ideas and experiences. So this is just the beginning. We're going to be doing probably 1 or 2 free webinars a month with different guests, but these 2 coaches will have packages for you to either purchase and also free content as well. This is an ongoing community effort to just evolve and connect, share, teach, and learn. So let's close out with some closing ideas. Vicki, would you like to?
Yeah. So in listening to you and Ak, there's a part of me that kind of wants to do this all the time. That's all the time. But as you all know, and I'll share with the audience, I'm the one who kind of entered that corporate America, that kind of work realm, which is where I thought my voice was. And I was sharing with Julian, coming up, you're trying to figure it out, like in the communities that we were in, right? Where, with all the players that you named, if you didn't find a role model there, you had to just basically develop yourself. You had to become your own role model, or you had to rely on friends such as yourselves in order to build something. And so what I gained from both of you was that intellectual curiosity, but also a lot of rebelliousness, which made me say, you know what, I'm going to build something different. It's not going to be here in Jersey City. I mean, my original plan was to come back and be mayor of Jersey City. That's what I wanted to do. I wound up in Washington, D.C., which has very interesting energy, and so what I want to share with the audience is that some of you may not be steeped in these practices. You may be somebody who's who's working for the government or got a 9-to-5, or, and it's hard to kind of integrate all of this. But I want to tell you and share with you that it's completely possible. And so what I'd like to leave you with is just leaving the door open for one change. To Akadama's point, what is that one invitation? There is something that keeps circling back to you. You know what it is. We don't know what it is. But through conversation, which is what I'm about, and mentoring and challenging and asking the tough questions, not taking any BS for answers, this is how we help you to discover, what that invitation is for you. And it's different for everyone. We all have contributions to make. At some point in time, that shutdown is going to end, and I got to go back to work, right? I got to go back to work for the American people, and do my job with gusto, but in a way that, that brings the energy up. And as I mentioned before, in the civil rights arena, I'm dealing with people who are in pain all the time. So I'm constantly trying to draw on practices that maybe they don't see, but I know and see and do, in order to contribute something larger. And wherever you are, wherever you work, whatever you do, you have the ability to do that. So while we have dealt with some very deep concepts and theories and practices that we've talked about, they can actually be attributed or practiced in everyday life. And so that's what I'd like to leave you with. All of us have it. All of us have the tools we need to do what we need to do.
Thank you, Vicki. Can you give me a closing in about a minute?
Sorry. In about a minute, I love that. I just want to first say it's a sabbatical for the soul, Vicki. Look, I've been fortunate to have about 7 years of experience working with people from all corners of the world and all demographics around addiction, right? So I know and have seen that there's a way through any block, right? And as a spiritual counselor, I'm the one that will walk that path with you to develop that relationship with your soul. And if it gets dark, I'm not going to walk in the darkness with you. I'm going to put a flashlight in your hand and show you how to turn it on and on, right? And then if you're running some issues, you come on back, and we work it out. And for me, I have people for 30 days at best, with insurance nowadays. But so me, I like the long-term commitment. I want someone who really wants to get this and make a 6-month commitment. Now, there will be some offerings here for this community so you can see if this is something you want to be committed to. But I think of the 3 of us and all the others that will come, I'm the one that wants to see you really break through and no BS in yourself or anybody else, right? because we need you.
Yes.
And I've come to this planet through the challenges I've been through so that we can awaken to who we truly are, right? So with that said, there's a way through every block. Now, let's find it. Right? Let's get into it.
Let's get
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you both so much for spending this hour with me and with our community. And community, you're going to see videos and content on how to reach these teachers, and they'll be on this platform and their own platforms as well. Thank you both so much. I want to close with just sitting tall in our seats with a nice breath. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale. As we shine this vibration outward, I want to share love and energy to everyone who's been with us tonight, the Urban Yoga community. The voice, the sound of the breath is your navigation. Use it. Use it. Use it.
Listen to the sound of the first breath of creation. It was the mother's song. It was the mother's song.
Transform your dream.